Hello, this is Chooks. Welcoming you to DC Weekend Tales channels, where I bring you interesting and intriguing stories to spice up your weekends. This could come in various genres: romance, horror, crime, thriller, just for your own listening pleasure. So subscribe to DC Weekend channels so that anytime stories of your interest or stories that might suit your taste are uploaded, you will be notified. Also, do well to like, share, and comment. DC Weekend Tales channel is where stories are uploaded mostly during the weekends to help you have a blissful and a relaxed weekend. So relax and enjoy today's piece. Thank you. Chapter 1. The Encounter. The morning was too young and bright. The cool breeze was felt from every angle as it gently blew over every creature that was within its reach. One could see the gradual dance of tree branches as the breeze tenderly caressed them. From afar came the chirping sounds of wild birds, as though they were calling and responding to each other's calls. The wild trees scattered in the wilderness were of various sizes, yet could be referred to as giant trees. It was a vast wilderness, one that induced fear on a single guest. It appeared lonely, but the near and distinct sounds of majorly unseen creatures indicated the presence of dwellers. She looked around in fear as she ran deeply into the forest from who knew where and how long. Aimlessly and in random, she moved her upraised head around the trees, with her eyes clouded with fear, briskly piercing through the forest. She was obviously apprehensive and overwhelmed by the fearful nature of this place she found herself. Suddenly was a swift movement across the trees. Benita fell on her butt with her eyes still gazing at the direction the sound traveled as she dragged herself to the tree. She was obviously frightened. One could see the evidence on her face, as her mouth pattered, with perspiration gliding down her cheek. In a snap, Benita was swiftly struck by the neck by the hand of an unknown who had been chasing her all the while. She instantly turned her conscience. A strange and fierce-looking man emerged from behind the tree. He slowly walked towards the lifeless body of Benita and stood beside it. He was tall and stout-looking, dressed in all black. His black long-sleeved shirt held tight his body, such that it revealed his thick muscles and abs. His black jean pants was thick and old, tucked into his boots, so heavy. He loosened his clenched fingers, bent towards lean and lifeless-looking Benita, and lifted her to his shoulder effortlessly. On a spacious platform in a room was Benita laid on the bare of its floor, still unconscious. The room was relatively dark, but looked expensively furnished with modern domestic facilities, which showed that the occupant was classy and of good taste. The apartment was built with furniture from roof to floor and were neatly polished to suit comfort. At an extreme, at an extreme, directly opposite the entrance was the raised platform, with which looked like one used for a performing play. A beautifully carved, large brown seat was rested almost close to the wall, yet centered on the platform. Its arm had heads of twin dangerous-looking vipers, expertly carved on each side, with its canine well pronounced from other teeth. By the sides were other small wooden seats, as if they were made for some distinct personalities. It was obvious that a deadly physical clash had ensued between two tough creatures, but the right corner of the platform were broken seats. and other eye-catching stuffs. Down to the exit door, few other things were destroyed. Minutes later, a man walked into the apartment. He looked different from the former. He was in his late 20s, tall, fair in complexion. He wore a long black packed and tied to the back of his hair. He is simply a handsome young man to behold. Kenny mounted the platform. He stood a while, went on one knee and began to caress Benita's blonde hair. He admired her beauty. A beauty like you don't deserve to die. I should protect you, Kenny said. He moved his hand to her face and began to rub his thumb on her lips. I wish I could kiss those lips of yours someday. So succulent, so attractive, so... Kenny stopped speaking. He slowly stood to his feet as Benita moved her head and tried to open her eyes. She touched her neck and moaned, "Oh, I'm still alive." "Yes, you are." Kenny bent towards her. He tried to touch her. Benita, who had thought she was alone, was frightened by the strange voice. She briskly turned her head to behold Kenny. "Ah!" Benita shrugged and ran towards the throne like said. Kenny tried to calm her down. "I'm not the bad one. I won't hurt you. I just saved you from the bad one," Kenny said. "What's that blood?" Benita pointed at Kenny's shoulder. She continued, "Who did you kill? You're a killer. Please don't touch me." Benita panicked. "Oh, this." Kenny glanced at his torn clothes stained with his own blood. "I was rather injured by him. He tore my clothes, but it's gone now. So, you're in safe hands. I'm not a killer, I should presume." "You lie. You just want to trick me." "What do you mean he?" Benita asked. "Don't tell me you didn't know how you got into this weathers." All I could remember was that I was chased into a dark forest by a strange creature in form of man until I was struck dead. Now I'm back to life. And before me is another man I can't tell who or what he is. Benita laments. I want you to know for now. All I want you to know for now is that you are in safe hands. Come on, let me help you, Kenny said as he stood on his feet and walked towards Benita, who is on the floor beside the big chair centered on the platform. He stretched out his right hand towards Benita. Benita rebuffed sharply, as if one withdrawing from one possessed by an infectious disease. Kenny smiled and shook his head. Slowly he walked down the platform and headed towards the exit door. Benita's gaze was on Kenny as he walked towards the door till he was out of sight, and all she could see was the large door which slowly swung forward till it fitted into its frame, making a soft clicking sound. Benita quickly stood to her feet and made to rush down the platform. She felt a sharp pain on her head. She groaned and held the spot, yet proceeded. Benita reached the door. Stealthily, she opened it like a thief would do when cautiously breaking into a house. She slowly walked outside. It was dark and cold outside. Benita crossed her arms round her body and attempted to protect herself from the harsh weather. She looked around. She and the wooden house were surrounded by the dark forest. There was no sight of light, apart from the half moon and few stars in the sky, which radiance barely dominated the almost palpable darkness. Benita was already gripped with fear, but her utmost desire was to be out of the god-forsaken and fear-induced habitat she found herself. Therefore, with the little courage in her, she proceeded into the dark wilderness, briskly moving her head round aimlessly, almost at every step she made forward. Suddenly, she stopped and looked back to see how far she had gone from the wood house. It dawned on her that she had traveled far into the forest. The structure from where she came out from had disappeared, and all that was in sight was huge oak trees which stood straight and tall, close range with other giant trees. The large branches almost tucked into one another like the hands of men holding each other by the shoulder, thereby creating an almost perfect roof. Benita felt swallowed up by the forest as all she noticed was herself surrounded by large trees and wild plants. Benita turned to continue her journey, but far amidst the dark were two strange shiny eyes approaching. They were bright as golden shooting stars on motion. Benita became more terrified at the strange sight. Without a second thought, she quickly took to her heel back through the path she came from. After some moments of running, Benita found herself in front of the wooden house. Without delay, she forced the door open and bashed in like a fox under a hot chase by a hungry lion. Benita quickly shut the door and began to move with her back into the apartment with her eyes still on the door. One could say that she was in fear. Halfway to the platform, Benita quickly turned and made to run towards it. She was startled at the sight she beheld right there on the platform. On the big and throne-like seat was the image of a man dressed in black. It wasn't clear who it was, yet one of his legs was crossed over the arm of the chair where he sat comfortably and relaxed in front of the seat. By the right was a small stool. On it was rested a tray with a covered plate. Beside the plate was a shiny golden bowl stuffed with red and green grapes. Benita became confused whether to run back to the door and probably into the dark or proceed to the platform. As she quickly looked back and forth, probably contemplating on the best choice to make, with a trembling voice, Benita asked, "Who is there?" There was no response from the yet still strange man, who rather kept mute and maintained his posture, like a helpless lamb in a lion's den who had no choice but to accept her fate. Benita dragged her feet, which suddenly turned heavy towards the unmoving dark image. As she got to the platform, she gradually knelt on the first staircase. Should I doubt what I now feel within? My so unfortunate end. May I have the honor to see the face of him who desires to take the life of the innocent? Benita demanded with her face bent to the floor. The man hesitated for a while. Then slowly he brought down his leg which had been hanging on the arm of the chair. He sat up and moved the hood covering his head and face to the back. "My name is Kenny," Kenny said with a calmed voice. The voice was not strange to Benita. Gradually she lifted her face. Their eyes met. Benita's eyes was already filled with tears. She looked down again. Kenny stood to his feet and stretched out his hand towards Benita, who was already sobbing softly. "Please, take my hand," Kenny requested. Benita raised her head to behold Kenny, whose right hand was hanging before her very face. She hesitated for a while before she finally subjected her palm into Kenny's. Benita slowly stood to her feet as Kenny gently helped her up. Like a gentleman would do, Kenny wiped Benita's tears and led her to the chair where the tray of the covered plates and bowl grapes was. With his hands glued to her waist, Kenny gradually helped Benita to sit. Like a stranger that she was, She looked at the stuffed tray like one without clue of what to do with the content in it. Kenny smiled warmly as he bent to open the covered plate. Benita held his hand. Let me. Thank you, Benita said. Kenny quietly withdrew his hand and stood beside her with his two hands tucked into his pockets. Benita slowly uncovered the plate. She expressed surprise as soon as she saw the content. Oh, this is good. All this for me. Of course, I needed to get you something to eat because I knew you must be famished, Kenny said with a smile. That's very thoughtful of you. Thank you very much, Kenny. The name is Kenny. Kenny pronounced his name. Hope this is not meant for me alone. Please join me, Benita demanded. No, I don't eat this. It's all yours, Kenny said. Benita looked at him for a while and expressed, You are indeed a strange being with strange traits. Will I be asking for too much if I desire to know who this stranger is? Benita inquired. For a beauty such as you, it would rather be a pleasure to reveal myself to you. Just hope knowing who I am won't bring regret to me and discomfort to me, Kenny said as he walked to the expertly carved seat. Benita looked puzzled as she stared at him while he walked to the seat. Kenny sat and comfortably raised his leg over the arm of the seat. At once, he placed his gaze on Benita. Benita looked away as soon as she caught his eyes. End of chapter 1. If this story interests you and you would like to get more interesting and intriguing stories for you